What is good, y'all? It is your boy, The Shows, and if you're new to the channel, welcome to Shows World TV. Okay, so I was supposed to do this last night when I came in, but I was too tired, so I wanted to rest, okay? But the memory's still fresh in my mind. So I saw Captain Marvel yesterday, okay? Now, as a disclaimer, this is a spoiler review of the movie, so if you haven't seen the film already, just click out of this video right now. I gave you a warning. Don't say I didn't tell you, okay? So jumping right into it, you know, a lot of my questions got answered, but then there were some that were unanswered, okay? Now, as far as the rating of the film, 1 through 10, of course, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, I give this movie a 7 out of 10. Is it better than most of the MCU movies I've seen? Nah, but this movie still holds up. And I didn't hate it, I actually enjoyed it. And let me also say, as far as what Brie Larson said, just to address it, I didn't let that affect my going to see this movie because I don't usually care about that stuff. Now, as far as I'm concerned, she's within her rights to have her opinions. And that's that. Do I feel like it should have been something to trigger people? Not necessarily. Now, as far as those people saying, well, what if she was talking about black men? What if she was talking about men of any other race? Would you feel upset about that? And I'm gonna be honest, I don't feel the majority of us would. But again, that's just me. So let me not waste any more time and just jump into this review here, okay? So, to give the basic plot, you know, the movie is about an Air Force pilot who gets, you know, kidnapped by an alien force in space, and memories get scrambled because she was in a crash, and it looks like who was supposed to be her enemy, you know, ended up, you know, killing the main person that they were working with, right? But the problem is her memories were manipulated, okay? So she was working with the Kree, you know, trying to work on her powers and everything. And she did get her powers from the Kree, you know, Carol Danvers, but turns out the Skrulls, at least these Skrulls, were not bad people that, you know, supposedly they were fighting. It actually turns out that it was the Kree who were manipulating Carol Danvers the whole entire time. It took her a while to get her memories back, as you see through the film. You know, at first she's training with one of the Kree people to help her, I guess, you know, control her powers. So then at some point in the film, you see that she's under some kind of, like, I guess you could say, a Skrull, what do you call that? I guess you could call it like a chamber type of hold, because they were trying to piece together her memories. Now she thought that they were doing this to purposely, like, torture her or anything, and then she started fighting them. So when she ends up in one of the Skrull ships, she fights, and as you see from the movie trailer, we figure out that, you know, she crash landed into the blockbuster. Now, this gave me very big nostalgia because I grew up in the 90s, and Brie Larson is actually close to the same age as me. You know, she's 29, I'm 30, so I remember Blockbuster growing up, you know, the VHS tapes where you rent from the store. Now, for those of you who are not born in the 90s, you're not gonna understand that, but yes, people went to the store to rent videotapes, you know, for films and things, and would bring them back. Now, I don't remember how long you had to bring these things back, but, you know, basically you rented the movies for a certain amount of time and then you would bring it back to the store. Either that, or I believe you would buy them sometimes. No. I've definitely bought DVDs from Blockbuster. I can't say that I've bought videotapes from Blockbuster. But anyhow, moving on, right? So with all that being said, she somehow manages to modify a payphone. Again, another nostalgia thing from the 90s. These things were used a lot in the 90s. You know, if you want to learn more about this stuff, you can go and click into a video of a two-parter I made called Things I Don't Miss from the 90s. Okay? I'll put that in the mobile cards here somewhere. So she was able to modify a payphone and contact the creator that she was working with. Alright? And so, in the midst of all that, we start to see Agent Fury come up. Now, I can honestly say they did a great job with the CGI as far as the de-aging of Nick Fury, you know, for Samuel Jackson. And then we see Phil Coulson when he was a rookie coming back, you know, from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And of course, if you remember from the earlier films in the MCU, right, this is his beginning. So that was pretty cool. And then we lead into the train battle, right? Because as it turns out, not only did the Skrulls infiltrate the Earth to find Carol Danvers, and again, the Skrulls were not the enemy, you know? Keep on track with what I'm saying here. But anyhow, so turns out one of the Skrulls had imitated Phil Coulson, and then one of the other Skrulls was imitating Nick Fury's boss when they were looking for some files at some point in time. Okay, I'm jumping ahead here. I really am. But there was a train battle before Nick Fury and Carol Danvers were looking for, you know, the files to figure out who was among the witnesses of the plane crash and everything, right? So on the train battle, of course, you see from the trailer she was fighting an old lady who was disguised as a Skrull. Now, I do remember that Skrull in particular, I believe, was killed, just like the one that imitated Phil Coulson when they were chasing for Carol Danvers, you know, on pursuit in the train battle, yeah? So, once Nick Fury comes to realize that, yes, aliens do exist, he covers up the whole thing and whatever. So there was an autopsy being done, a little funny scene there. Of course, adults would get that joke, but if you saw the film, you know what I mean. And so it turns out while Nick Fury's boss was in the autopsy room, it's revealed that he is also a Skrull. So like I said, at some point in time, what was it? I think Nick Fury finds a way to follow Carol Danvers, and they're in this bar, and you know they're talking, trying to prove that each other's not a Skrull, and a little funny moment happens there. So they decide that they're going to try and figure out who was witnesses of the crash and on all that, right? So then Nick Fury calls it in to his boss, who really is a Skrull, and there ends up being this whole chase scene type thing going on, because it's found out that the boss is dead already, and it's actually the Skrull. So when all of that happens, now there's a fight, and they were able to find Carol Danvers' friend eventually. Yes, I believe her name was Maria. I could be getting that wrong. If I had the name wrong, I'm gonna put the correct name in the video when I edit it in caption form. Yeah, so I'm sorry if I seem to be scrambling a bit. I'm still kind of waking up. Yeah, I just woke up. So yes, once all of that happens, right? Of course, her friend is shocked to find out that Carol is still alive after all that time. And, her daughter obviously took after her, as far as admiring her too. even called her Auntie Carol, and you know, of course, he's Lieutenant Trouble. Now, what I found out was that that's a little Easter egg, right? I was doing a little research on the internet. I figured out that was an Easter egg from the comics universe. There's a fan of Captain Marvel who is called Lieutenant Trouble. Yeah. Now, there was a cat that was following them around this whole entire time called Goose that somehow became a stowaway into a ship that Carol Danvers and Nick Fury were flying in to get to Maria. Now, again, if I have the name wrong, I'll put it in the video. You know, to Carol Danvers' best friend. So I guess at some point the Skrull were able to find. Once everything was explained, now she finally realizes that the Kree had betrayed her, because it turns out they were looking for a power source that Larson, I believe they called her, figure out how to make a light speed type of, I guess you could say, a light speed source. Once the memories start to flood back in, it turns out that during the crash, the Kree person that was mainly working with Danvers had killed Larson and then attempted to kill Danvers, but then she blew up the ship that had the, I guess the core to it. Of course, it was a space core, and that's how she got her powers, right? So you know from the beginning of the movie, you know, they were training and all that. That's how she gets a photon blast and everything. So we figured that out. So now after all of that, right, the Kree were on Earth pursuing her already. And so they're able to go into space and retrieve more of the, I guess we could say, the stowaway Skrulls that were trying to escape the Kree. So then, of course, the Kree general, he calls in Ronan the Accuser, who was ahead of all the operation. So they get there, and Ronan and his people in the ships in space, they were trying to launch missiles to destroy Earth and all that. There was a battle between Carol Danvers and this Kree. Before that, there was a battle with some of the other Kree that were on the ship, trying to kill off the other Skrulls that were innocent and just wanted a home. There's this bigger picture message thing going on about, you know, how war is tough, and sometimes, you know, you don't know the full story. You know, seeing as how they thought the Skrulls were bad, in this case they were actually good. I'm gonna say some of them, okay, because the Kree and the Skrulls were going through this 1,000-year war, or whatever they want to call it, right? And so there was like a little message going on there that sometimes you can't really judge a book by its cover sort of situation going on, okay? So in all the midst of the battle, she destroys the ships. She manages to intimidate Ronan the Accuser. Turns out that the power source that was supposed to be used for building a new Lightspeed engine was a Tesseract. Now, if you know the Tesseract, you know it because the first time we see the Tesseract is in Captain America: The First Avenger. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to the MCU this entire time, you are not gonna know what's going on. So I suggest you watch those other films before you watch this one. So the Tesseract is a space cube, and it's one of the many Infinity Stones, of course, leading to Infinity War eventually. The Space Stone, of course, like I said, was first used in Captain America: The First Avenger, and it was used to build weapons for the Nazis. Now, I'm not entirely sure how she managed to get her hands on it. That was not answered, right? But I'd imagine after some time, it had ended up in the Skrulls' hands. Because if you remember, because as we know, Larson was a Skrull, okay? Or at least from what I was trying to remember, she was a Skrull that was manipulated to look like Kree, simply because they were trying to scramble her memories, distorted, you know, the Kree, so they could be on hers, so that she could be on their side. Why can't I speak? I'm all over the place, but you get what I'm trying to say. If you saw the movie, you get what I'm saying. Okay. So, turns out that Goose, the cat, is actually a Flurkin, is what they called it. Yeah, a Flurkin, an alien species. Look like it have tentacles, like some sort of, I guess you could say a somewhat of an octopus type of alien. Right, this is found out when it eats some of the Kree to help fight. So once most of Ronan's ships are defeated, they decide to retreat back on Earth. Carol Danvers was fighting the Kree guy that she was working with. I forget his name right now. Okay, I'll put that in the video as well. She sends him back to Ronan through a ship, you know, blasting him off the... I'm gonna guess he gets killed eventually when he gets back to Ronan. I'm not too sure. Then we see the pager that gets modified by Carol Danvers to give to Nick Fury so that if he's ever in a dire emergency, that he can call her, you know, to come around and basically handle the situation. So I'm gonna say that's pretty much the reason why Nick Fury had never called Captain Marvel the entire time, because it turns out what she ends up doing is going through the galaxy, I guess, either fighting battles the entire decade or so after that, and she was so far away that it probably wouldn't have, you know, made sense to do it at the time. And plus, by the time Nick Fury had found the other Avengers, he probably didn't feel there was a need to do it yet. And once again, it was supposed to be for an emergency situation to call Danvers for that sort of thing. I have just remembered the lady's name who was helping with trying to find the Lightspeed power source, right? Her name was Marvel. Of course, that's how she became Captain Marvel, and you get the correlation. Many years pass, of course, and we get right back to the end of Avengers Infinity War, leading to Endgame. You can actually see the population count go down of, you know, after the snap when Thanos had killed off those people. And it turns out that they are at the Avengers base, and they were able to capture the pager that Carol Danvers had gave Nick Fury. It was emitting a signal, and then it stopped. They thought, you know, all hope was lost with that situation, and then they see Captain Marvel show up. So when the post-credit scene comes around, we see the scene set in the 90s again with Goose being at Nick Fury's desk, and then he coughs up the Tesseract as a little joke. I still believe it's possible that time travel will happen in Endgame. Okay? Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie for Captain Marvel because not once did the movie slow down. I figured that it was a 2-hour film. Maybe it's going to get boring at some point, but it never slowed for the entire film. Everything that was happening was explained in a good way. And also, we had found out other things, like how Fury had came up with the Avengers Initiative because he was writing up the initiative to find more heroes, being that, you know, Danvers was away in space, and they figured that was their one defense system against all those alien type of threats that would come around. But of course, they found the other Avengers, and that was part of the Avengers Initiative. And we also have figured out another Easter egg during the film, which was Project Pegasus, of course, which, you know, S.H.I.E.L.D. was working secretly on the alien weapon. Of course, we found that out during Avengers, the first film for 2012, if you saw that as well. So, I'm gonna say, if you hadn't seen every film from the MCU, including this one, go and see that, and then see this, and so that you'll be caught up. Okay? Because I know one thing's for sure. If you're someone who's been paying attention to the MCU from the beginning till now, like me, you cannot wait to see how this whole chapter ends with Endgame, okay? I'm looking forward to that. I'm definitely seeing that, and I will be doing a review of that movie as well. So this is the end of my review, okay? So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you made it to the end, and if you're already subscribed to my channel, thank you. And if you're new here, please subscribe, like, and share so you can get more videos from me. This is Shell's World TV, and I make new videos for every Thursday. So don't forget to hit the bell to be notified every time I make a new video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter to be updated with everything that I've been doing, okay? And follow me on the Like app to get more videos from me at World Shells so that you can get more videos there that I can't show here because of copyright situations. I'll put the link for that in the description down below. The social media and the Like app name, all of that is in the description down below, okay? Alright, so this is your boy The Shells, and I will see you guys next time when I upload. Peace.